Vladimir Putin's coming to the United States of America, to Alaska, to sit down with Donald Trump because he's like, holy shit. That motherfucker just sent 2 nuclear submarines to the coast of Russia, ready to possibly react.
Hello guys, welcome to my social commentary. My name is Ransom Joseph. Our president is making headlines again. President Donald Trump is set to meet with the Russian president, and the whole wide world will be watching. Yes, this high-profile meeting is stirring speculations online, with people asking what will they be talking about. Ukraine, sanction, energy deals, or is it about reshaping and repairing the relationship between the US and Russia? Supporters are saying that our president might break a deal that will put America first, while critics are saying that this could send a wrong message to the middle of the ongoing global tension. Watch this.
That's what it comes down to. Vladimir Putin's coming to the United States of America, to Alaska, to sit down with Donald Trump because he's like, holy shit. That motherfucker just sent 2 nuclear submarines to the coast of Russia, ready to possibly react to the rhetoric and the bullshit coming out of the regime, the Russian regime, and Donald Trump is saying, I'm not fucking around with this. I'm not playing this game with you, Vladimir. Either we work this out, end the war to Ukraine. What is the best interest for the people of Russia and the best interest for the people of the United States of America as we seek peace? This man, call him whatever you want, say whatever you want about Donald Trump. Every conversation, every meeting he's got, as he's with the Prime Minister of Armenia today, peaceful conversations. How do we get to a peaceful solution? So you can go on and you can say all the stuff that you want to say about this man, but at the end of the day, if you don't get respect, then there's chaos. And then when there's chaos, disaster seems to follow. So the whole thing with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, they're going to get together. They're going to sit down. They're going to iron this shit out. How are we going to end the war with Ukraine? And 2 things that we are going to do. The only thing we're going to aspire to do, Vladimir Putin, make Russia great again. Donald Trump, always very clear. Whether you like him or hate him, his actions always say that I have the best interest of the American people. Godspeed, Mr. President.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say, we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Overnight announcement from Moscow. A face-to-face meeting, months in the making, between President Putin and Trump as soon as next week, at an agreed but as yet undisclosed location. Last night, President Trump had hinted a meeting was close, but wouldn't confirm if Ukraine's President Zelensky would also be at the table.
There are thousands of young people dying, mostly soldiers, but also, missiles being hit into Kiev and other places. But in terms of soldiers, I think Russia's lost over 20,000 since the beginning of the year, 20,000. And I guess the estimate for Ukraine is about 9,000. It's a terrible situation. We want to get it stopped.
President Zelensky has managed to win back US support since his disastrous February meeting in the Oval Office with Trump, but is still adamant he should be at the talks.
It seems that Russia is now more inclined to agree to a ceasefire. The pressure on them is working. But the main thing is that they do not deceive us or the United States in the details.
That latest pressure tactic was a Friday deadline for Putin to agree to a ceasefire or face more sweeping sanctions, including secondary tariffs on the likes of China and India for buying Russian oil. It's unclear if those will still go ahead. Russia's stock market rose 4.5% this morning on the news, but there is still a chasm between the two sides' positions, with Putin wanting to retain his occupied eastern provinces and Zelensky unequivocal on an immediate ceasefire and return to its previous borders. Seemingly locked out of the meeting by Moscow, he's been hitting the phones with European leaders this morning to build support. He's also had increasing success with strikes deep inside of Russia, striking oil depots this morning and at the weekend, as well as an ambitious drone attack on Air Force bases across the country. This will be the first in-person meeting between the US and Russian presidents since Joe Biden met Vladimir Putin in Geneva in 2021, 8 months before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Trump and Putin met several times during his first term, most famously in Helsinki in 2018, when the two held closed-door talks for 2 hours. In the subsequent press conference, Trump sparked outrage at home by siding with Putin against his own intelligence agency's finding that Russia meddled in the 2016 election. Despite the criticism, Trump continued to enjoy a warm relationship with Putin, defending his leadership and pushing for Russia to be readmitted into the G8.
The ICC has a warrant out for Putin's arrest. He is coming to America to meet with an American president. He doesn't have to do it. There are no conditions we're aware of at this moment. Is that concerning?
Yes, it's all very concerning. I think it's all good that they're meeting. I don't know why anybody at this table would say it's a bad thing that they're sitting down and having these discussions. If yes, there might be they may have their opportunity, right? But for now, having President Trump and Vladimir Putin sitting down and having these discussions that could lead to peace in that region is a good thing. Now, right, Russia was the aggressor. We have to acknowledge that. Russia was the aggressor. And for that, should we be rewarding them with additional land? Well, in order to get to peace, I'd say probably, as long as you have some investment from Europe, coming in and, trying to protect the deal, and I think they'll have to pay for it on their own. These European countries have to participate in this. I think there has to be something in it for the United States too, right? We've invested so much into Ukraine. We have to get something back out of it. That has to be something that guarantee that President Trump is going to be looking at American interests as it relates to that. So if we could get to a point where the fighting stops and there is a deal to be had, I think it's a pretty good.
Yeah, but that's a lot of ifs. And
they have to sit down in order to do that. For you to just say, well, he should be meeting with them, I think it's ludicrous.
I'm saying that the terms that we've been reported are so obviously lopsided on Putin's side that it means that we can easily predict that the negotiations are going to fail because we're going to force the Ukrainians to do things that they're never going to do.
But the terms are what he is saying he wants. Of course, that's their opening bid. I'm sure.
Trump said we're going to swap territories.
You heard the president.
What is he talking about?
You heard the president say he has other things in mind. But I just think prejudging this as a failure a week before the meeting even happens is totally irresponsible.
No, it's accurate and it's actually very
And what's the alternative? Just to let them go on for
No, the alternative is to support the Ukrainians in their fight for
How about we do
sovereignty.
this? How about we swap some characters in this scenario, right? And we pick somebody that you can often prejudge that might have done something terrible on October 7th, and Donald Trump said he was going to sit down with them. Wouldn't you prejudge that? Yes, because Hamas is not a good actor in what happened to Israel on October 7th, and Putin is not a good actor in what happened to Ukraine. Different situations, but when you swap things, people's previous behaviors are an indicator of often how they will behave in the future. And Vladimir Putin, even in the short term of Donald Trump's, has not even been a fair negotiator with the president right now. So I think you're giving a lot of credit to someone who is not an ally of the United States, that has not acted in good favor and invaded Ukraine. I don't understand where this trust of, sure, I want the war to end too, but do I think Vladimir Putin is going to get us to liberty and freedom?
Well, wait, let me play this out, actually. So you think we cannot negotiate with Putin? Who are we supposed to talk to? There's two parties in the war.
Ukrainians are supposed to
we are
negotiate
talking to
with the
Zelensky.
Russians.
They have been talking. We have been providing weapons to the Ukrainians. We cut a deal to do it through NATO, which was a good thing. We have the relationship channel open. with the Ukrainians. In order to end this, there's no one else to talk to, unless you want to invade Russia and overthrow the government. But I don't think anybody wants to do that. That's the only player on the field.
You're putting forth a straw man like, oh, we shouldn't negotiate. No, what I'm saying is that we should negotiate skillfully, okay?
A meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin appears increasingly likely after both the White House and the Kremlin confirmed plans were underway. Putin said the United Arab Emirates could host the talks, but he ruled out meeting the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, saying the conditions for that encounter were not yet in place. The White House says the Trump-Putin summit could take place as early as next week. Trump has been pressing for a meeting as he seeks to secure an end to Russia's war on Ukraine. Let's take a closer look and bring in Michael Kimmage. He's a professor of history at the Catholic University of America. He's also a former U.S. State Department expert on Russia and Ukraine. Welcome, Michael. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. So Vladimir Putin says he is open to discussing an end to the war with Trump. What do you make of that?
Well, it certainly serves Russia's interest at the moment, looking like Russia is the deciding power together with the United States to finish up the war. But that's very much a matter of optics. It's hard for me to believe that much of substance will emerge from this particular meeting.
Mm-hmm. How much of an impact do you think Trump's threat had in getting Moscow to agree to a sit down? Did it even take that kind of pressure, or would Putin have been happy one way or another to sit down with Donald Trump?
I think more the latter. I think this is really more of a concession on the part of Trump to meet and also to allow Putin to announce the place of the meeting and to determine whether the Ukrainians will be present. So I don't think it's a matter of Trump pressuring Putin into doing this. It's more almost the opposite of Trump showing willingness to do this and Putin being happy to do so.
Why would Donald Trump let Putin control the narrative in that way?
It's an interesting feature of his relationship with Putin that he tends to defer to Putin, to almost no other world leader, and certainly to no political figures in the United States, Democrat or Republican, at the moment. But there is a pattern of deference toward Putin that goes back certainly deep into Trump's first term.
Now, Putin says the conditions are not in place for him to meet with Zelensky. He, of course, doesn't recognize Zelensky's legitimacy as the Ukrainian president. How do you interpret that statement? Does he mean bilateral talks? Would that include a three-way meeting in the UAE with Donald Trump? Or does he just say, both of us in the same room, that's never going to happen?
Right. Let's recall that the war begins with a Russian effort to topple the government of Ukraine and presumably to send Volodymyr Zelensky into exile or to send him into jail or something like that. And it's not clear to me that Russia has moderated those particular war aims. So if Russia is trying to replace the government of Ukraine one way or another, it's very unlikely that Putin would agree to a meeting with Zelensky. And he wants to show that Ukraine is a second-order country. It's not among the big countries like Russia and the United States. So it's not surprising at all that Putin would rebuff Zelensky in this way.
Where does that leave any kind of diplomatic efforts then? If the man who started this war doesn't want to sit across the table with his counterpart to discuss how to bring it to an end, and it's widely regarded as the only way out of this conflict to get to a negotiated exit.
Yeah, it leaves the diplomacy in a pretty sorry state. That's been the case for the last 6 months. It's not true that the Trump administration has really moved the needle on diplomacy since coming to office in Trump's second term. It's very unclear that Russia is willing to make the kinds of concessions to reach a peace deal to which Ukraine would agree. And I don't think that Ukraine, with or without pressure from the United States, is going to make the kind of concessions that would get Russia to stop. So I think, in short, we're very far from an end to the conflict. Of course, it's not unusual that heads of state meet to discuss things and to share ideas, and that's the appropriate context for looking at this particular meeting. But I doubt that it's going to resemble anything close to a diplomatic breakthrough.
Mm-hmm. Now, the notable absentee here is the EU, is NATO, are Ukraine's allies in Europe. What role are they going to be playing in all of this, in this process that is seemingly starting now, but in your opinion is not going to lead very far? But are they being completely sidelined here?
Well, let's not put too much weight on the meeting itself. Europe is a crucial supporter of Ukraine. Europe is, very much a part of its own diplomacy vis-a-vis the region, and Europe is going to be instrumental to the reconstruction of Ukraine after the war. So Europe is going to play a huge role, but in this particular meeting, it's going to be the two attention-grabbing heads of state, the two solo actors as they see it in their own eyes, Trump and Putin. So that tells you something about how the United States and Russia see the world, but it doesn't tell you everything about Europe's relationship to Ukraine and to the war, because it's a very prominent and important relationship and will remain so for a very long time.
Okay, welcome back. If you watch this video, you understand that our President Trump has made it clear that his mission is to bring an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine before it escalates into what we call World War III. He is promising to bring peace, to stop this bloodshed, and to pull the world back from the edge. Tell us what you think about this in the comment section. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Gotcha.